Everyone knows that there's nothing more American than capitalism and sports. Well, nobody knows anything. At first glance, capitalism and American sports go hand in hand. The US has the highest valued sports team in the world, and we have 7 of the top 10. If you don't count Eurasian oil magnates and the family that runs Gucci, we also have the richest sports owners in the world. And we happen to be pretty great at sports too, as we prove at every Olympics. Now, if I understand transitive property, which I do not, American sports should be capitalist. Well, upon second glance, they're actually not. Ultimately, capitalism in its most idyllic form is a meritocracy, in which the best performers win and the worst performers lose. This is why Netflix and Apple have all of my money, and my parents have a junk drawer that has a Blockbuster car and a Palm Pilot. But American sports aren't set up like that. They're set up systematically to spread the wealth, give teams second chances, and even the playing field. In most foreign countries, ironically, most pretty socialist. Sports are fairly meritocratic. Meritocratic? Meritocratic. Meritocratic? To use the English Premier League as an example, every team plays each other twice, home and away. You get 3 points for a win, 1 for a draw, 0 for a loss. The more points you earn, the higher you finish in the standings. No padding your schedule, no wildcard games, no hot streaks, no tanking. The best team for the entire year wins the league. Now in America, if you finish the season with the best record, you win nothing. Yeah, you get the number 1 seed and home field advantage in the playoffs, but no matter how great you were over the course of the entire year, if you don't win the last game, you get nothing. The best examples of this are the 2007 Patriots and the 2016 Warriors. They both set the record for most wins in a season in their respective leagues, but they both lost the championship and got nothing. Now you'd think the second best record would get the second highest seed in the playoffs, right? Not necessarily. And that's because of little things called conferences and divisions. American pro sports love to segment leagues into these arbitrary, geographically predetermined sub-leagues that allow teams second chances to make the playoffs. In the NFL, for example, the top 4 seeds are reserved for the 4 winners of each of the 4 divisions in each conference. This system makes sense in theory, unless one division is incredible and another division is ass, which happens every year. The most glaring example of this recently was in baseball. The atrocity that was the 2021 National League playoff race. The MLB playoffs go by a very similar seeding system in their playoffs, and this year the Dodgers won 106 games in the regular season, a record that blew everyone else out of the water except for one team, the Giants, who won 107 games, and they just so happen to be in the same division. So the Giants got the 1 seed and an automatic bid to the playoffs, while the Dodgers, who were 1 win away from having the best record in baseball, had to play an extra game just to get into the playoffs. Meanwhile, the 88-win Braves got an automatic bid for winning their dog shit division. What did the Braves do to deserve getting into the playoffs over 6 teams who had better records than them? They just so happened to be geographically closer to teams that were even worse than them. I don't know about you, but it doesn't seem very meritocratic to me. But wait, there's more. In capitalism, not only do the winners win, but the losers lose. And the more you lose, the harder it is to get back to winning. Kind of like tug of war or running the blimpies. This is how it works in the English Premier League. If you finish in the bottom 3 of the league, you don't just lose, you get relegated to a worse league. Imagine if the Jaguars had to play in the SEC for a year. Sorry, Coach Meyer, but it's going to be a little harder to pick up chicks at the bar when they find out you're playing Vanderbilt on Saturday. But in America, what happens if you get last place? You get the first pick in the draft. You get rewarded for being bad. It's almost the opposite of a meritocracy. And in some leagues, being the worst isn't even a meritocracy. In the NBA, the worst team doesn't necessarily get the first pick. They used to, but then the other bad teams were like, hey, we sucked too. We should also get a chance at drafting the best player. And the NBA said, yeah, that's fair. which it's not. And that's why the NBA draft is a lottery, where each team that didn't make the playoffs gets a little ball, and the draft order is determined by the order the balls come out of the lottery ball thing. I don't know what it's called. You get how a lottery works, and you get my point. Spreading the wealth, second chances, evening the playing field. Sounds kind of socialist to me. Now, I will concede these fairness mechanisms do have capitalist incentives. Playoff games increase ticket sales and viewership, and if a team stinks, giving them second chances to make the playoffs or increased chances of getting better players keeps fans, aka paying customers, engaged. Why else would we care about the Pelicans? All I'm saying is, isn't it a little weird that the NFL and MLB, which are as American as apple pie, are kind of closer to Venezuela and China than America? I think it's interesting. But what do I know? Nobody knows anything. That's it.